The deep space probe Pathfinder had been traveling for 3 years when the aliens found it. The small human spacecraft was nothing special, just metal and circuits carrying messages about Earth and its people. It moved slowly through the dark, between stars, hoping to find someone out there. The Zephyrians found it first. Admiral Vexcar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking at the tiny human probe on his screen. His purple skin showed patches of bright yellow, a sign that he found something amusing. Around him, his officers made clicking sounds that passed for laughter among their kind. "Look at this primitive thing," Vexcar said, his voice like grinding metal. "They put pictures on a gold disc. They think someone will find this and understand their simple drawings." The probe was brought aboard the flagship Pride of Zephyr. Zephyrian scientists took it apart piece by piece. They studied every part, every message, every image that humans had carefully chosen to represent their world. Dr. Yixtal, the fleet's chief scientist, presented his findings to the admiral. "They are mammals, sir. They live on a single world. No space colonies. No real weapons. Their fastest ships barely reach 1% of light speed." Vexcar's skin turned brighter yellow. "How many of them?" "About 8 billion. They fight among themselves constantly. They have never left their solar system except for this pathetic probe." The admiral looked at the star charts. Earth was marked as a small yellow dot. Sol's system looked empty and useless compared to the vast Zephyrian empire that controlled 200 worlds. "Are they a threat?" Vexcar asked. Dr. Yixtal's throat sac expanded, the Zephyrian equivalent of a laugh. "Sir, they are insects. Their most powerful weapons are chemical explosives. They burn fossil fuels for energy. They would not last one day against our weakest ships." But the Zephyrian High Command had rules. Any new species that reached space had to be dealt with. Either they joined the Empire as subjects, or they were destroyed. There was no third option. The message came through quantum channels from the hegemony capital. Vexcar read it aloud to his bridge crew. "Proceed to Earth system. Demonstrate Imperial superiority. Secure unconditional surrender or eliminate the species." 50 warships of the 3rd Assault Fleet changed course toward Sol. Each ship was kilometers long, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields that could stop anything humans might throw at them. The journey took 6 months. During that time, the Zephyrians studied every signal coming from Earth. They watched human television broadcasts, monitored military communications, and analyzed the simple satellites orbiting the blue world. "They are even more pathetic than we thought," reported Intelligence Chief Kexmar. "They have no unified government. They waste resources on entertainment and sports. Their military forces use crude projectile weapons." Vexcar was pleased. This would be easy. The Empire would gain a new world without losing a single ship. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw Zephyrian power. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Sol system. Immediately, human sensors detected them. Vexcar watched with amusement as panicked radio signals flew between Earth and its small moon colony. Within hours, Earth's military forces were scrambling. Vexcar could see them on his long-range scanners, 12 converted mining ships and 8 military vessels. The entire human fleet was smaller than his flagship's hangar bay. "Sir," reported Weapons Officer Texvol, "they are moving to intercept us. Should we destroy them?" "Not yet," Vexcar said. "First, we talk. Let them understand what they face." The Admiral opened a channel to Earth on all frequencies. His image appeared on every human screen, every radio broadcast, every communication device. His tall alien form towered over the humans as he spoke in their own language. "People of Earth," he began, his voice cold and mechanical through the translation device. "I am Admiral Vexcar of the Zephyrian hegemony. Your primitive probe has brought you to our attention. On Earth, billions of humans watched in terror as the alien spoke. Their worst fears were coming true. You will surrender unconditionally, Vexcar continued. Your world will become property of the Empire. You will serve us, and we will allow you to live. You have 24 of your hours to decide. The transmission ended. Vexcar turned to his officers, all of them showing bright patches of amusement on their skin. What if they refuse? Asked Texeval. Then we demonstrate what happens to species that defy the Empire, Vexcar replied. But look at them. They are already afraid. Indeed, the human ships were taking defensive positions around Earth. But they were so small, so fragile. Vexcar's scanners showed him everything. Chemical rockets, primitive fusion drives, simple kinetic weapons. It was like watching children play with toys. Captain Santos of the human ship Defiance sent a message to the Zephyrian fleet. Her face appeared on Vexcar's screen, a young human female with dark hair and determined eyes. Alien vessels, she said. You are not welcome in our system. Leave now, or we will defend our world. The entire Zephyrian bridge burst into clicking laughter. Vexcar almost fell from his command chair. Did she just threaten us with what? Their little chemical rockets? Dr. Yixtal was studying his readings. Sir, their largest ship mass is barely 50,000 tons. Our flagship is 300 times larger. We could ram through their entire fleet without slowing down. Vexcar decided to have some fun. He opened the channel again, this time to the human military frequency. Captain Santos, he said, letting mockery fill his voice. Your courage is amusing, but courage cannot stop quantum disruptors. Courage cannot penetrate energy shields. Look at your scanners. Count our ships. Do you understand now? On the screen, he could see the human captain's face go pale. Her eyes were wide as she looked at something off-camera, probably her sensor, readings showing the true size of the Zephyrian fleet. We will not surrender, she said, but her voice shook. Then you will die bravely, Vexcar replied. How refreshing. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Begin approach. Battle formation, but slowly. Let them see our power. Let them understand their mistake. The 50 Zephyrian. Ships moved forward like a wall of death. Their hulls glowed with energy. Weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. Behind them, space itself seemed to bend as their engines warped reality. The human ships spread out in a defensive line. They were trying to protect their world, but they looked like children standing against a hurricane. Sir, reported the sensor chief, human reinforcements are launching from their moon base. 6 more ships. Vexcar almost laughed again. 6 more? Do they think 18 ships will matter against 50? But something bothered him as he watched the human formation. They were not running. Facing certain death, completely outgunned, they held their position. Most species would have fled by now. Primitive mammals, he muttered. Too stupid to know when they are beaten. The fleet continued its advance. Soon they would be close enough to use their shortest-range weapons, the ones that killed cleanly and quickly. Vexcar decided to be merciful. These humans had shown more courage than most. They deserved a quick death. Unknown to the Admiral, deep beneath Earth's surface, other humans were watching and waiting. In hidden bunkers and secret facilities, they prepared their own response to the alien threat. The defense fleet in space was never meant to win this battle. It was meant to buy time. 2 kilometers beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Sarah Chen sat in a chair that would decide the fate of humanity. The underground facility around her hummed with quiet energy. Screens showed data streams, star charts, and most importantly, the approaching alien fleet. Sarah had gray hair and tired eyes. She had spent the last 30 years of her life working on a single project. Now, in this moment, She would learn if those years meant anything. "Dr. Chen," came a voice through her headset. "This is General Morrison. Are you ready?" Sarah looked at the red button under her right hand. It was protected by a clear plastic cover. Such a simple thing to hold so much power. "I'm ready, General," she said. "Damocles is fully charged and locked on target." Above them, the world watched the alien ships advance. News reports showed people praying in the streets. Some ran in panic. Others stood quietly, watching the sky. Everyone knew that humanity's first contact with aliens might also be their last. But most people did not know about the Atacama facility. They did not know about Project Damocles. They did not know that their planet had a weapon that could fight. The secret began 60 years ago, when Earth first detected alien signals. The messages came from deep space, brief transmissions that proved humans were not alone. Most people celebrated. Scientists around the world worked to decode the signals and send responses. But some humans looked at those signals and felt afraid. Dr. Richard Chen, Sarah's father, was one of them. He was a physicist who understood what those signals really meant. If aliens had technology to send messages across space, they had technology to travel across space. If they could travel, they could also wage war. "We need to be ready," he told a secret meeting of military leaders and scientists. "We hope they come in peace, but we must prepare for war." Project Damocles was born in that meeting. While the world celebrated first contact, a small group of humans began building a weapon. They started small. Secret research stations, hidden laboratories, carefully stolen resources. The project grew slowly over decades, hidden from public view. Even most government leaders did not know it existed. The breakthrough came 20 years ago when Dr. Sarah Chen, following her father's work, solved the mathematics of faster-than-light travel. Not the slow method the aliens used, something far more dangerous. The Alcubierre drive could bend space and time. It could push objects to incredible speeds. But it required enormous amounts of energy and could only be used once. The drive would destroy itself in the process. Perfect for a weapon. Damocles was built in secret shipyards hidden throughout the solar system. It looked simple, a tungsten rod the size of a school bus. But inside that rod was an Alcubierre drive powered by humanity's entire strategic antimatter reserve. When fired, Damocles would accelerate to 99.7% the speed of light. At that speed, it would hit with the force of a star exploding. Nothing known to science could stop it. The weapon waited in deep space, hidden behind Jupiter's moons. For 20 years, it drifted in the cold and dark, waiting for the day humanity needed it. That day had come. "Status report," Sarah said into her headset. "Damocles is 2 astronomical units from target," came the reply from Mission Control. "Alien fleet is advancing as predicted. Our defense fleet is holding position." Sarah watched the main screen. It showed the space around Earth in real time. The alien ships looked like stars moving slowly toward the tiny dots that were human, vessels. The size difference was terrifying. "Dr. Chen," said General Morrison's voice. "The aliens are demanding surrender. Our fleet commander is refusing." "Good," Sarah said. "We need them closer." The plan was simple in concept but required perfect timing. The aliens had to believe they were winning. They had to move close enough that Damocles could reach them before they could escape. Most importantly, they had to group their ships together. "Admiral Vexcar is broadcasting again," reported the communications officer. "He's mocking our defense fleet, calling them primitive." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest. These aliens thought humans were weak. They thought Earth would fall easily. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Distance to target?" she asked. 1.8 astronomical units in closing. Impact time would be 18 minutes at current alien fleet position. Too far. The aliens could escape in 18 minutes if they detected the weapon early. Sarah needed them closer. On the screen, She watched the human defense fleet spread out in a protective formation. Captain Santos and her crews knew they were probably going to die, but they held their positions anyway. They trusted that Earth had a plan. Sarah's finger hovered over the button. Inside the facility, dozens of technicians monitored systems and confirmed readings. This was humanity's one chance. If Damocles missed or failed, Earth would have no other defense. Alien fleet is accelerating, reported sensors. They're moving to attack formation. Distance? 1.5 astronomical units. Impact time would be 14 minutes. Still too far. Sarah forced herself to wait. Around the world, people watched their defense fleet prepare for hopeless battle. They did not know that their fate rested in the hands of a tired scientist in an underground bunker. The minutes crawled by. On screen, the alien ships grew larger as they approached Earth. Their weapons began to glow with energy. Soon, they would be close enough to destroy the human fleet with ease. "Dr. Chen," came Captain Santos's voice over the military channel. "We're picking up massive energy readings from the alien ships. They're charging weapons." "Hold position, Captain," Sarah replied. "Help is coming." "What help? There's nothing out there but us." Sarah smiled grimly. "There's always been something out there, Captain. You just couldn't see it." The alien fleet moved closer, 1 astronomical unit, 0.9, 0.8. "Dr. Chen," said General Morrison urgently. "They're almost in firing range of our fleet. If we wait much longer—" 0.7 astronomical units, Sarah said, reading her screen. "Impact time 11 minutes. Still too long." But then something unexpected happened. The alien admiral, confident in his victory, decided to make a show of force. Instead of spreading his ships out for a long-range attack, he brought them together in a tight formation. He wanted the humans to see all 50 ships at once, an overwhelming display of power. 0.6 astronomical units, Sarah read. "Fleet, formation is tight. Impact time, 8 minutes. Perfect. Dr. Chen," came the voice from Mission Control. "Damocles is locked on the alien flagship. We have a clean shot." Sarah's hand moved to the plastic cover over the red button. For 30 years, she had prepared for this moment. All the calculations, all the tests, all the secrets, everything came down to this. "One shot," she whispered to herself. "That's all we get." She lifted the plastic cover. The red button waited underneath, labeled simply, "Fire." "Damocles is go for launch," confirmed Mission Control. "All systems green, awaiting your command." Sarah thought about her father, who had started this project 60 years ago. She thought about all the scientists and engineers who had worked in secret to build this weapon. She thought about the 8 billion people on Earth who were counting on her, even though they did not know it. Most of all, she thought about the alien admiral who was about to learn that humans were not as helpless as he believed. Sarah pressed the button. 2 astronomical units away, hidden behind Jupiter's moons, Damocles came to life. Its Alcubierre drive activated, bending space and time around the tungsten projectile. Reality twisted as the weapon began its journey toward the alien fleet. In the Atacama bunker, alarms began to sound. "Damocles is away," reported Mission Control. "Time to target. 8 minutes, 14 seconds. Sarah sat back in her chair and waited. There was nothing more she could do. Humanity's fate was now in the hands of physics and mathematics. 8 minutes to find out if humans were clever enough to survive in a hostile galaxy. Admiral Vexcar stood on his bridge, watching the pathetic human fleet through his main viewer. The tiny ships floated in space like insects waiting to be crushed. His weapons were fully charged and ready to fire. "Distance to human fleet?" he asked. 50 million kilometers in closing, sir," reported his navigation officer. "We will be in optimal firing range in 6 minutes." Vexcar's skin showed bright patches of satisfaction. This was almost too easy. The humans had arranged themselves in a perfect defensive line, making themselves easy targets. He would destroy them quickly, then turn his weapons on their blue world. "Sir," called his sensor chief, "I'm detecting a small energy signature approaching from the outer system. Very faint." "Probably another human ship," Vexcar said dismissively. "How small?" "Extremely small, sir. About the size of their probe. Moving at... Wait, that can't be right." The sensor chief's face changed color to deep purple, a sign of confusion among Zephyrians. "What is it?" Vexcar demanded. "Sir, the computer says this object is moving at 99% light speed. But that's impossible. Nothing that small could carry enough power for such velocity." Vexcar laughed, a harsh clicking sound. "Your sensors are malfunctioning. Recalibrate them." But across the bridge, other officers were getting the same readings. The mysterious object was indeed moving at incredible speed, directly toward the Zephyrian fleet. "Time to intercept?" Vexcar asked, more curious than concerned. 37 seconds, sir." Vexcar waved a clawed hand. "Raise shields. If it's some kind of primitive missile, our defenses will stop it easily." The pride of Zephyr's energy shields activated, surrounding the massive ship in a glowing barrier. The shields could stop anything: plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, even small asteroids. No human weapon could penetrate them. "Object is still approaching," reported sensors. 20 seconds to impact." "Sir," called the weapons officer, "should we shoot it down?" "With what?" Vexcar replied. "Our weapons can't target something moving that fast. Let it hit the shields. Then we'll see what these humans thought would save them." Around the bridge, Zephyrian officers prepared to watch their shields easily deflect whatever primitive weapon the humans had launched. Some even made betting sounds about how many pieces the object would break into. 10 seconds, counted the sensor chief. 5, 4, 3, 2... In the last half-second before impact, the computer finally calculated the true energy of the approaching object. The numbers appeared on Vexcar's screen just as understanding dawned in his alien mind. A tungsten rod moving at 99.7% light speed carried kinetic energy equal to a small star exploding. At that velocity, the projectile had gained so much mass that it was like being hit by a concentrated supernova. Physics was humanity's greatest weapon. Shields up. All power to... Vexcar began to shout. Damocles struck the pride of Zephyr at the exact center of its hull. The relativistic projectile passed through the energy shields as if they did not exist. The shields were designed to stop normal matter moving at normal speeds. They had no effect on an object that was almost pure kinetic energy. The tungsten rod hit the alien flagship and kept going. It passed through 3 kilometers of advanced armor plating in less than a microsecond. The ship's hull, built to withstand the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, offered no more resistance than paper. But the real destruction came from what happened next. When an object moving at near-light speed suddenly stops, all of its kinetics, energy has to go somewhere. In this case, it went into heat, light, and an explosion that briefly outshone Earth's sun. The pride of Zephyr simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a massive dreadnought that had conquered 100 worlds. The next moment there was only expanding plasma where the ship used to be. The explosion created a temporary star in the middle of the Zephyrian fleet. 3 escort ships caught in the fireball vaporized instantly. 7 more ships suffered critical damage as the shockwave hit them. But the worst part for the surviving aliens was the electromagnetic pulse. The energy release was so enormous that it created an EMP wave that spread across the entire fleet. Electronics failed throughout the alien formation. Sensors went blind, weapons powered down, life support systems flickered and died. In the sudden darkness and confusion, Fleet Commander Thexnall found himself in command of what was left of the Third Assault Fleet. His ship, the Crimson Talon, had been far enough away to survive the initial blast, but his sensors were damaged and his communications were failing. "Report!" He screamed into his headset. "Sir! Sir! The flagship is gone!" came a shocked voice. "Admiral Vexcar! The entire ship! It's just gone! What hit us? Where did it come from?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors detected an object for less than 40 seconds. It appeared to be moving at impossible speed." Thexanol looked at his tactical display. Half of his ships were not responding to communications. Several more reported critical damage. The pride of the Zephyrian Empire had been gutted by a single shot from an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. "Sir," called his science officer, "I'm reading massive energy. Signatures from the human fleet. They're moving to attack formation." Indeed, Captain Santos and her crews could hardly believe what they were seeing. Their sensors had detected the massive explosion where the alien flagship used to be. The enemy fleet that had seemed so overwhelming moments ago was now scattered and confused. "All ships," Santos broadcast to her fleet, "advance and engage. Hit them while they're blind." The human vessels surged forward, their primitive but reliable weapons ready for battle. For the first time since the aliens arrived, they had a chance. On the bridge of his damaged ship, Thexanol faced an impossible situation. His fleet was crippled, his sensors were failing. The humans he had planned to crush easily were now attacking, with confidence. Worse, he had no idea what weapon had destroyed the flagship. For all he knew, the humans had more such weapons ready to fire. "Sir," urged his navigation officer, "we should retreat, regroup, and call for reinforcements." Thexanol's pride rebelled against the idea of running from primitive humans. But his survival instincts were stronger. Whatever had killed Admiral Vexcar could kill him too. "All ships," he commanded reluctantly, "withdraw to safe distance. Prepare for emergency jump to faster than light. But, sir, our orders were to capture or destroy Earth. Our orders assumed we faced chemical rockets and fusion bombs," Thexanol replied grimly, "not weapons that can make stars explode." The surviving Zephyrian ships began to retreat, their formation broken and their confidence shattered. Many of them were still blind from the EMP, following their fleet commander by emergency radio signals. In her underground bunker, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the alien fleet's retreat on her screens. Around her, technicians cheered and celebrated. The impossible had happened. Humanity's one shot had worked perfectly. "Dr. Chen," came General Morrison's voice, filled with amazement, "the alien fleet is withdrawing. You did it. You actually did it." Sarah felt no joy, only exhaustion. "How many got away?" 31 ships, most of them damaged. But Sarah, "You killed their flagship and broke their formation with a single weapon. How is that possible?" Sarah looked at the empty launch tube that had once held Damocles. "Einstein was right, General. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. At 99.7% light speed, our tungsten rod had the mass of a small moon and the kinetic energy of a supernova." She paused, watching the alien ships flee toward the edge of the solar system. "The Zephyrians thought we were primitive because we use chemical rockets and fusion power. They forgot that sometimes the old ways work best. Physics doesn't care about advanced technology. A rock moving fast enough can kill gods." Above them, the human defense fleet was regrouping around Earth. They had expected to die in a hopeless battle. Instead, they found themselves victorious against impossible odds. But Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The surviving aliens would carry word back to their empire. They would tell their leaders that the primitive humans possessed weapons that could destroy dreadnoughts with a single shot. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not as helpless as they appeared, and that knowledge would change everything. The news reached Zephyr Prime 6 days after the battle. Fleet Commander Thexanol's damaged ship limped into the home system, broadcasting emergency codes that had not been used in 3 centuries. High Admiral Mordek received the transmission in his war room, deep beneath the Imperial Palace. Around him, military leaders from across the Empire gathered to hear what should have been a routine victory report. Instead, they heard the impossible. The third assault fleet has been defeated. Thexnol's voice came through the quantum communicator, distorted by damage to his ship's systems. Admiral Vexcar is dead. The flagship Pride of Zephyr was destroyed by a single weapon. Silence filled the war room. For several long moments, no one spoke. The Zephyrian Empire had not lost a major battle in over 2,000 years. Repeat that transmission, High Admiral Mordek ordered, his skin showing patches of disbelief. Sir, we engaged a primitive human fleet at Earth. The enemy deployed a relativistic kill vehicle moving at 99.7% light speed. The weapon completely destroyed our flagship and crippled our formation. We were forced to retreat. General Kexmar, the Empire's chief strategist, stepped forward. That's impossible. Our intelligence showed that humans barely have fusion technology. They cannot build relativistic weapons. Sir, Thexnol replied, I watched it happen. Our sensors recorded everything before the EMP disabled them. The humans fired a single projectile that struck with the force of an exploding star. High Admiral Mordek studied the tactical reports flooding his screens. 50 ships had entered Sol system. Only 31 had returned, and most of those were heavily damaged. It was the worst military disaster in Zephyrian history. How many ships do the humans have? He asked. Sir, their defense fleet consisted of only 20 vessels. All of them were smaller than our escort ships. Then how did they defeat us? They didn't need a large fleet, sir. One shot from their weapon was enough. The implications hit everyone in the room at the same time. If humans could build weapons powerful enough to destroy Zephyrian dreadnoughts, they were not the primitive species the Empire had assumed them to be. Emperor Zixmoth himself arrived within the hour. The ancient ruler's skin was dark with anger as he listened to the full battle report. Holographic displays showed the destruction of the Pride of Zephyr from multiple angles. 50 ships, the Emperor said quietly. We sent 50 ships to crush insects, and half of them did not return. Your Imperial Majesty, said High Admiral Mordek carefully, our intelligence was clearly flawed. The humans have technology we did not know about. How did they hide it? Our scouts observed their world for decades. We saw primitive rockets and chemical weapons. Dr. Yixtal, who had studied the human probe, spoke up nervously. Sire, we may have underestimated their scientific capability. The probe showed crude technology, but perhaps that was deliberate misdirection. Emperor Zixmoth turned his ancient eyes on the scientist. You are saying they deceived us? It's possible, sire. While we watched their public technology develop slowly, they may have been secretly building advanced weapons. General Kexmar was studying tactical projections on his personal display. Your Majesty, we have a larger problem. If humans can build one such weapon, they can build more. How many relativistic kill vehicles do they possess? No one could answer that question. The surviving ships had fled before conducting proper reconnaissance. For all the Empire knew, Earth bristled with weapons that could kill gods. Sir, reported Intelligence Chief Vextar, we're receiving disturbing reports from across the Empire. Word of our defeat is spreading. The Crystalline Consortium has increased raids along our border. The Void Hunters are testing our defenses in the Outer Rim. Emperor Zixmoth's skin darkened further. They sense weakness. Yes, sire. And there's more. Trade routes near human space have been abandoned. Merchants refuse to travel there, fearing these new weapons. The economic implications were staggering. The Zephyrian Empire depended on trade between its 200 worlds. If shipping companies started avoiding entire sectors out of fear, the economy would collapse. High Admiral Mordek brought up star charts showing the galactic region around Earth. Your Majesty, we need to determine the extent of human military or capability. I recommend we send a larger fleet. How large? The Emperor asked. The entire second battle group. 300 ships. General Kexmar shook his head. Sir, what if they have 300 weapons? What if each human ship carries relativistic kill vehicles? The room fell silent again. The possibility was terrifying. In their arrogance, The Zephyrians had assumed humans were primitives with crude weapons. Now they faced the prospect that Earth might be the most militarily advanced world in the galaxy. "We need intelligence," Emperor Zixmoth decided. "Send stealth scouts, stay at maximum sensor range, count their ships, analyze their capabilities. I want to know exactly what we face." The scouts launched within hours, but their mission would take months. Until then, the Empire had to deal with the immediate consequences of their defeat. The news could not be contained. Quantum communications carried word across the galaxy faster than ships could travel. Within days, every spacefaring species knew that the mighty Zephyrian Empire had been defeated by a race that had never left its home system. Ambassador Trixna of the Crystalline Consortium requested an emergency meeting with Emperor Zixmoth. Her crystalline form sparkled with barely contained excitement as she spoke. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said in her musical voice, "we are concerned about these new developments. If humans possess such powerful weapons, perhaps it is time to reconsider the balance of power in this galaxy." The Emperor knew what she meant. The consortium had been forced into tributary status by Zephyrian military might. Now they sensed an opportunity for independence. "The Empire remains strong," he replied coldly. "One battle does not determine the outcome of a war." "Of course, not, Your Majesty. But perhaps wisdom suggests establishing diplomatic relations with this new power. The consortium would be happy to serve as intermediaries." Translation: the consortium wanted to ally with Earth before the Zephyrians could regroup. Similar messages arrived from the Void Hunters, the Stellar Republic, and even the normally neutral trader guilds. Everyone wanted to know more about the humans who had shattered the myth of Zephyrian invincibility. In his private chambers, Emperor Zixmoth consulted with his oldest advisors. These were Zephyrians who had lived for millennia, who remembered when the Empire was just one world among many. "The young ones want immediate revenge," he told them. "They say we should send the entire Imperial Navy to crush Earth before these humans can build more weapons." Elder Vixmel, ancient even by Zephyrian standards, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, I have seen empires rise and fall across the eons. The strong do not remain strong by fighting every battle. Sometimes wisdom requires accommodation. You suggest we negotiate with them?" "I suggest we learn from them, sire. Any species that can go from primitive rockets to relativistic weapons in secret is worth studying, perhaps even worth respecting." But the younger generals disagreed. Military pride demanded revenge for the humiliation at Earth. They argued for immediate action before humans could prepare more defenses. "If we wait," General Kexmar insisted, "they will build a fleet of these superweapons. We must strike now, with everything we have." "And if they already have such a fleet?" Elder Vixmel countered. "What if our intelligence was wrong from the beginning? What if humans have been a military power all along, hiding their true strength?" The debate raged for hours. Attack or negotiate? Risk everything on one massive assault? Or try to understand these mysterious humans who had changed the balance of power in the galaxy? Finally, Emperor Zixmoth made his decision. "We will do both," he announced. "Prepare the second battle group for possible deployment. But first, we will attempt contact. Send a diplomatic message to Earth." "What shall we offer them, sire?" asked the diplomatic advisor. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. For 3,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had offered the same thing to every new species: submit or die. Now, for the first time, they would have to offer something else. "We will offer them what we have never offered before," he said finally. "An alliance between equals." The phrase felt strange in his mouth. The Zephyrian Empire did not have equals. They had subjects and enemies, conquerors and conquered. But the humans had forced them to consider a third option: partnership. High Admiral Mordek looked troubled. "Your Majesty, if word spreads that we consider humans our equals, every species in the galaxy will demand the same treatment. Then we will deal with that when it happens," the Emperor replied. Right now, our concern is preventing these humans from building more weapons that can destroy our ships. The diplomatic message was prepared with care. For the first time in Imperial history, it did not demand surrender. Instead, it requested negotiations between sovereign powers. As the message was transmitted toward Earth, Emperor Zixmoth stood at his palace window, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there was a small blue world that had changed everything. The age of Zephyrian supremacy was ending. What would replace it remained to be seen. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat across from Emperor Zixmoth in a conference room that had been hastily built on Neutral Station Alpha. The space station orbited a dead world between human and Zephyrian territory, chosen specifically because neither species could claim it as their own. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Sol. 6 months of careful messages, cautious proposals, and delicate negotiations. Now, for the first time in galactic history, the leader of the Zephyrian Empire sat as an equal with a representative of another species. Sarah had been promoted from weapon designer to humanity's first galactic ambassador. Her gray hair was now completely white, aged by the stress of representing Earth in a galaxy full of aliens who still did not understand what humans were capable of. Emperor Zixmoth was ancient even by his species' standards. His purple skin was marked with the dark, patterns that came with extreme age. His large black eyes studied Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Ambassador Chen," he said, his voice translated into perfect English by the station's computers. "Your species has surprised us." Sarah smiled slightly. "That seems to be a talent of ours, Your Imperial Majesty." Around the conference table sat advisors from both sides, Zephyrian generals who still wanted revenge for their defeat, human diplomats who were learning to navigate galactic politics, scientists from both species who were eager to share knowledge. "Let us speak plainly," the Emperor continued. "Your people destroyed our finest warship with a single weapon. Our intelligence services have spent months trying to understand how this was possible. And what have they concluded? That we greatly underestimated your technological capabilities. Our scouts now report that Earth possesses industrial facilities we never detected. Your asteroid mining operations could build dozens of ships. Your research stations develop weapons in secret." Sarah nodded. "We learned long ago that in a dangerous universe, it's better to appear weak while being strong than to appear strong while being weak." General Kexmar, sitting to the Emperor's right, leaned forward. "How many relativistic weapons do you possess?" It was the question everyone wanted answered. The entire galactic political situation depended on whether humans had built one lucky shot or an entire arsenal of superweapons. Sarah looked directly at the general. "Enough." The simple answer sent ripples of tension around the table. By refusing to give numbers, Sarah had left open the possibility that humanity possessed hundreds of such weapons, or thousands. "Your Majesty," she continued, "may I ask why?" "Your empire attacked us without provocation?" Emperor Zixmoth's skin showed patches of what humans had learned was embarrassment. "It was our standard procedure. New species were given a choice. Join the Empire as subjects or be destroyed. And now? Now we find ourselves in uncharted territory, Ambassador. Your species has proven that the old ways may no longer work. Indeed, the past 6 months had been devastating for Zephyrian influence. The Crystalline Consortium had declared independence the day after news of the human victory reached their worlds. The Void Hunters had seized 3 Zephyrian border systems. Even the normally peaceful Stellar Republic was demanding renegotiation of trade agreements. "The galaxy is watching this meeting," Sarah observed. "Every species wants to know what happens when someone successfully resists the Empire." "Yes," the Emperor admitted. "And that is why we must find a new path forward." Dr. Yixtal, the Zephyrian scientist who had first studied the human probe, spoke up nervously. "Ambassador, Our analysis suggests your relativistic weapons require enormous energy expenditure. The antimatter alone must cost more than most species' entire military budgets, Sarah finished. Yes, they're expensive, but some things are worth the cost. She paused, letting that sink in. The implication was clear. Humanity was willing to spend whatever it took to defend itself. However, she continued, we did not request this meeting to discuss weapons. We're here to talk about peace. What do you propose? Asked the Emperor. Sarah activated a holographic display showing the local galactic region. Earth proposes a new model for interstellar relations. Instead of one empire dominating others, we suggest a federation of independent worlds. The Zephyrian advisors showed colors of shock and dismay. A federation would mean the end of the empire, as they knew it. Your worlds would retain their independence, Sarah explained. Trade would be free and equal. Disputes would be resolved through negotiation, not conquest. And if some worlds refuse to join this federation, General Kexmar asked, then they remain independent. No one is forced to join anything. It was a radical concept in a galaxy where might had always made right. Emperor Zixmoth studied the proposal carefully. What role would Earth play in this federation? The same as everyone else. We would have one vote in the council, same as Zephyr Prime or any other member world. But you have the weapons to enforce your will, the Emperor pointed out. Sarah's expression grew serious. Your Majesty, we built those weapons to defend ourselves, not to conquer others. Earth has no desire to rule the galaxy. Then what do you desire? To survive, to grow, to learn from other species and share what we know in return, to explore the universe without fear that someone will try to enslave or destroy us. Around the table, both human and Zephyrian advisors were taking notes furiously. This conversation would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come. The younger members of my government want revenge for our defeat, the Emperor said quietly. They demand that I send our entire fleet to destroy Earth. And what do you tell them? That revenge is a luxury we can no longer afford. If we attack you again and lose, the Empire will collapse entirely. If we attack you again and win, every other species in the galaxy will unite against us out of fear. Sarah nodded approvingly. Wisdom, born of experience, Your Majesty. But I must ask you directly, Ambassador. If we agree to this federation, if we transform the Empire into something new, what guarantee do we have that Earth will not use its weapons against us later? It was the crucial question. Sarah had prepared for it, but the answer still felt strange to say aloud. Because, Your Imperial Majesty, we need you. Explain. Earth is one world with 8 billion people. Your empire spans 200 systems with trillions of citizens. You have knowledge, resources, and capabilities that we lack. A partnership between our species would benefit both of us far more than conquest ever could. She gestured to the holographic display. Look at this galaxy. It's vast beyond imagination. There are millions of worlds to explore, countless mysteries to solve, and probably other species we haven't met yet. Some of them might be hostile. When that day comes, wouldn't it be better to face them as allies rather than as scattered enemies? Emperor Zixmoth was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke to his advisors in the Zephyrian language. The translation. Computers provided a rough summary. He was asking for their opinions on the human proposal. General Kexmar was opposed, arguing for military solutions. Dr. Yixtal supported negotiation, fascinated by the scientific possibilities. Other advisors were divided between pride and pragmatism. Ambassador, the Emperor said finally, you ask us to abandon 3,000 years of imperial tradition, to transform from conquerors into partners. This is not a decision I can make alone. We understand, Your Majesty. Take whatever time you need. However, the Emperor continued, I am prepared to sign a preliminary agreement today, a non-aggression pact between our species. Your ships will be safe in Zephyrian space. Our ships will be safe in human space. It was less than Sarah had hoped. But more than many had expected. That would be an excellent first step. The formal ceremony took place in the station's main hall, with representatives from dozens of species watching via quantum transmission. Emperor Zixmoth and Ambassador Chen signed the first treaty between the Zephyrian Empire and another species that did not involve surrender or tribute. As they exchanged the signed documents, the Emperor spoke quietly to Sarah. "Tell me honestly, Ambassador, how did your species develop such weapons in secret? Our intelligence networks span the galaxy." Sarah smiled. "Because, Your Majesty, you were looking for the wrong things. You watched for large military buildups, massive industrial projects, obvious signs of war preparation. You never thought to look for a small group of scientists working quietly in hidden laboratories? And this is how humans wage war? In secret? With patience? This is how humans survive, Your Imperial Majesty. We learned long ago that sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know exists until it's too late." The Emperor's skin showed patterns of what humans had learned was respect. "Your species is more dangerous than we ever imagined." "Only to those who threaten us," Sarah replied. "To our friends, we offer partnership, knowledge, and loyalty." After the ceremony, as both delegations prepared to return to their home worlds, Dr. Yixtal approached Sarah privately. "Ambassador," he said nervously, "there is something I must ask. Our scientists have been analyzing the energy signatures from your weapon. The mathematics suggest technologies we do not understand. Would your people be willing to share some of this knowledge?" Sarah considered the request carefully. "Dr. Yixtal, science belongs to all sentient beings. We would be happy to exchange knowledge with your—" The alarm screamed through the Zephyrian Deep Space Monitoring Station like an angry beast. Commander Vextal's 4 arms moved quickly across the control panels as red lights flashed everywhere. His large, dark eyes focused on the main screen, where numbers were jumping around like crazy. "What is happening?" he asked in his deep voice. His second-in-command, Officer Thixon, was already checking the sensors with her thin fingers dancing over the controls. "Sir, we have detected something very strange," Thixon said. Her voice sounded worried. "There is a ship moving at the edge of our space. But the speed readings, they cannot be right." Vextal walked over to her station. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. The monitoring station was huge, floating in the dark space between star systems. Its job was to watch for any ships that might be dangerous to the Galactic Coalition. For 200 years, nothing exciting had happened here. "Show me the readings," Vextal said. Thixon pressed some buttons and the main screen changed. Now, it showed a small dot moving across a map of space. Numbers appeared next to the dot. When Vextal saw them, his eyes went wide. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Check the sensors again. They must be broken." "I already checked them 3 times, sir. The sensors are working perfectly." Thixon looked at her commander with worry in her eyes. "That ship is moving faster than our best military vessels, much faster." Vextal stared at the screen. The little dot was moving so fast that it would cross their entire sector in just a few hours. No ship in the galaxy could do that. Even the Coalition's most advanced warships needed days to make the same trip. "Get me a visual," he ordered. Officer Zixpal, the young communications expert, worked his controls. "I am trying, sir. The ship is very far away and moving very fast. Wait. I think I have something." The screen flickered and then showed a fuzzy picture. Vextal and his crew looked at it in silence. What they saw made no sense at all. The ship looked like junk. It was small, maybe 50 meters long, and seemed to be made from different pieces of metal stuck together. Parts of it were shiny and new, while other parts looked old and dirty. Strange tubes and wires stuck out from its sides. It looked like someone had built it in their backyard using whatever they could find. "This cannot be right," Vextal said. "That thing looks like it should fall apart, not fly faster than our best ships." "Sir," Thixon said quietly, "I am reading massive energy output from that vessel. The power levels they are higher than anything in our databases. That is impossible. A ship that's small cannot produce that much power. Our biggest ships with the most advanced engines cannot make those readings." Young Zixpal looked up from his station. "Commander, I am getting strange readings from the ship's drive system. It does not match any known propulsion technology." Vexatal walked back to his command chair. His mind was racing. In all his years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The Coalition had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. They had studied every known species and their ships, but this vessel was completely unknown. "Can you identify the species?" he asked. Zixpal worked his controls again. "I am trying. To scan for life signs?" "Yes, sir. There is one life form aboard. But the readings are strange. The creature seems to have only 2 arms and 2 legs. Very primitive body structure." "Show me what you can." The screen changed again. This time it showed a rough outline of a creature inside the ship. It was sitting in what looked like a pilot's seat. The creature was much smaller than any of them, and its body was simple compared to the advanced forms of Coalition species. "It looks so basic," Thixon said. "How can such a primitive creature build something that advanced?" "Maybe they did not build it," suggested Zixpal. "Maybe they stole it from someone else." Vextal shook his head. "No. Look at the ship again. It is clearly made by the same species. The controls, the seat, everything is built for that creature's body type." They all looked at the screen again. The strange ship was still moving at impossible speeds, leaving their sensors behind as it traveled deeper into Coalition space. "Sir," Thixon said, "what should we do? This ship is heading toward the inner systems. If it maintains this speed, it will reach populated worlds within hours." Vextal thought for a moment. The rules were clear. Any unknown ship entering Coalition space had to be stopped and investigated. But how could they stop something moving? "That fast? Send a message to Coalition Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have detected an unknown vessel with technology that exceeds our understanding. Request immediate assistance." "Yes, sir," Zixpal said, and began sending the message. "Also," Vextal continued, "try to contact the ship directly. Use all standard greeting frequencies. Sir, at that speed and distance, any message will take time to reach them. Do it anyway." As his crew worked, Vextal stared at the screen. The small ship continued its impossible journey through space. Every few minutes, the sensors picked up new energy readings that made no sense. The ship's power output kept changing, as if the pilot was constantly adjusting something. "Commander," Thixon said, "I have been studying the energy patterns. They are not steady like our ships. The power keeps going up and down, and the drive system seems to be... I do not know how to describe it. It is like the pilot is making changes while flying." "Making changes to the drive system while traveling at those speeds?" Vextal's voice showed his disbelief. "That would be incredibly dangerous. One mistake could destroy the ship." "Yes, sir. But the readings show that is exactly what is happening." Vextal sat down heavily in his command chair. Everything about this situation went against everything he knew. Ships were built by engineers and scientists who spent years designing every part. Once built, they flew the same way every time. You did not change the drive system while flying, especially not at such high speeds. "Sir," Zixpal called out, "I am receiving a response from Coalition Command. They are sending the research vessel Infinite Wisdom to investigate. They want us to keep tracking the unknown ship." "How long until the Infinite Wisdom arrives?" "A maximum speed. 12 hours, sir." Vextal looked at the screen again. In 12 hours, the strange ship would be long gone, but maybe they could learn something by watching it. "Keep all sensors on that ship," he ordered. "Record everything." "Aye, Want to know how it moves so fast, and I want to know what species built it. Yes, sir. As the hours passed, the crew of the monitoring station watched in amazement. The small ship continued to move at impossible speeds, its energy readings constantly changing. Sometimes it would slow down, make what looked like repairs or adjustments, and then speed up again. It is like watching someone fix their ship while driving it, Thixon said. No one is that crazy, Vexapal replied. But as they watched, it became clear that was exactly what was happening. The unknown ship and its mysterious pilot had just changed everything they thought they knew about space travel. And this was only the beginning. The Coalition research vessel, Infinite Wisdom, was a giant among ships. It was 3 kilometers long and filled with the best scientists in the galaxy. When Dr. Kelnara received the emergency call, she was studying ancient ruins on a distant planet. Now she stood on the bridge of the massive ship looking at the data from the monitoring station. This makes no sense, she said, looking at the readings again. Dr. Kelnara was the Coalition's best expert on primitive species. She had studied hundreds of different cultures and their technologies, but nothing had prepared her for this. Captain Morden, the ship's commander, stood beside her. His 6 arms were crossed as he studied the same information. How can a primitive species build something that fast? Maybe they are not as primitive as we think, Dr. Kelnara said. She was a tall, thin creature with large eyes that could see many different colors. Her people, the Veltari, were known for their intelligence and careful thinking. The monitoring station says the ship looks like junk, Captain Morden said. Pieces of metal stuck together with no clear design. Sometimes the most advanced solutions look simple, Dr. Kelnara replied. We need to see this for ourselves. The Infinite Wisdom was moving as fast as it could, but the strange ship was still hours ahead of them. Dr. Kelnara used the time to study everything they knew about the mysterious vessel. Look at these power readings, she said to her assistant, Dr. Pexham. The energy output changes every few minutes. No Coalition ship does that. Maybe their technology is unstable, Dr. Pexham suggested. He was young and still learning about different species. Or maybe it is very advanced in a way we do not understand, Dr. Kelnara said. We build our ships to work the same way every time. But what if this species builds ships that can change while they fly? Captain Morden joined their conversation. Dr. Kelnara, we have new information. The monitoring station says the ship has slowed down. It seems to be waiting for us. Waiting? Dr. Kelnara was surprised. How do they know we are following them? Unknown. But sensors show the ship has reduced speed and is moving in a pattern that suggests they want to meet us. Dr. Kelnara felt excited and nervous at the same time. This was why she became a scientist, to discover new things. How long until we reach them? 2 hours at current speed. Good. Prepare the contact protocols. We need to be ready for anything. 2 hours later, the Infinite Wisdom came close to the strange ship. When Dr. Kelnara saw it with her own eyes, she gasped. The vessel was even more unusual than the pictures showed. It really did look like someone had built it from scrap metal. Different parts were different colors and materials. Some sections looked new, while others seemed very old. Strange pipes and wires connected everything together. It should have been ugly, but somehow it looked functional. Begin scanning, Dr. Kelnara ordered. The science team worked their instruments. Numbers and pictures appeared on screens all around the bridge. What they found amazed everyone. Dr. Kelnara, called out Dr. Zexara, the ship's engineer. These readings cannot be correct. This ship should not be able to fly. What do you mean? The hull is made from at least 12 different metals. The drive system uses 3 different power sources that should not work together. The whole ship violates basic engineering principles. But it does work, Dr. Kelnara said. It flies faster than our best ships. That is what I do not understand. According to our science, this ship should explode the moment it starts its engines. Captain Morden looked worried. Could it be dangerous? Maybe their technology is unstable. Before Dr. Kelnara could answer, the communications officer called out. I am receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel. Put it on speakers, Captain Morden ordered. Static filled the bridge, and then they heard a voice. It was unlike any voice they had heard before. It was rough and strong, with strange sounds they did not recognize. Hey there, big ship, the voice said. Name's Jake. Morrison. I'm guessing you folks want to talk, seeing as how you've been chasing me for hours. Dr. Kelnara looked at her team in surprise. The alien was speaking in a very casual way, as if meeting giant alien ships was a normal thing. This is Dr. Kelnara, of the Coalition research vessel Infinite Wisdom, she replied. We represent the Galactic Coalition. Your species is unknown to us. Well, that makes sense, Jake said with what sounded like laughter. We haven't been out here very long. I'm human, by the way, from a planet called Earth. Human, Dr. Kelnara repeated the strange word. We would like to learn about your people and your technology. Sure thing, Doc. Want to come aboard? Fair warning, though, my ship isn't as fancy as yours. Dr. Kelnara looked at Captain Morden. They had never had first contact go this smoothly. Most new species were either afraid or aggressive when they met the Coalition. Is it safe? Captain Morden asked. I think so, Dr. Kelnara said. Prepare a shuttle. An hour later, Dr. Kelnara and a small team flew over to the human ship in a Coalition shuttle. When they docked, they had to crawl through a small opening that Jake had made for them. Inside the ship, everything was even stranger. Wires and pipes ran everywhere. Lights of different colors blinked on control panels that looked like they were built from many different machines. Everything was cramped and looked temporary. Jake Morrison was waiting for them in what seemed to be the main room. When Dr. Kelnara saw him, she was surprised again. He was much smaller than any Coalition species, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. His skin was pale and hair grew on his head. He wore simple clothes that looked worn and dirty. Welcome aboard the Lucky Strike, Jake said with a big smile. Sorry about the mess. I've been working on the engines all week. Your ship is very interesting, Dr. Kelnara said carefully. Jake laughed. You mean it looks like junk? Yeah, I know. But she flies fast and that's what matters. How do you achieve such speed? Dr. Pexham asked. Our scans show your technology should not work. Well, Jake said, scratching his head, I'm not really an engineer. I just fix things until they work better. See this drive system here? He pointed to a mass of machinery that seemed to be held together with metal wire and hope. Dr. Kelnara looked at it with her scientific eyes. It was the most chaotic piece of technology she had ever seen. How does it function? Honestly, I'm not totally sure, Jake said. I took a regular Coalition drive, found it floating in space after a battle, and mixed it with some human tech and a few things I invented myself. Took me 3 months of trial and error to get it working. Trial and error? Dr. Kelnara was shocked. You experimented with drive technology without knowing what would happen? How else do you learn? Jake asked, as if it was obvious. I probably blew up 6 or 7 engines before I got this one right. The Coalition scientists looked at each other in horror. Experimenting with drive technology was incredibly dangerous. One mistake could kill everyone on the ship. But you could have died, Dr. Pexham said. Yeah, probably, Jake agreed. But I didn't, and now I can fly faster than anyone else. Want to see how it works? Before anyone could say no, Jake started explaining his modifications. As he talked, Dr. Kelnara realized something that changed everything she thought she knew about technology and intelligence. This human, Jake Morrison, was not primitive at all. He was just different. Very different. Dr. Kelnara spent 3 days studying Jake's ship, and every hour brought new surprises. The more she learned about human technology, the more confused she became. Everything Jake had built should have been impossible, but it worked perfectly. "Show me the power coupling again," she asked Jake for the 10th time that day. Jake grinned and crawled under a control panel. "See, this is where I connected the Coalition power core to my own battery system. Took me weeks to figure out how to make them work together." Dr. Kelnara looked at the connection. It was a mess of wires, metal pieces, and some kind of sticky substance she could not identify. According to everything she knew about engineering, this should have caused a massive explosion. "What is this material you use to hold it together?" she asked. "Oh, that's just some stuff I made from ship repair paste and metal filings," Jake said casually. "Works great for connecting things that weren't meant to be connected." Dr. Pexham, who had been taking notes, looked up with wide eyes. "You created a new material by mixing random substances?" "Random?" Jake looked confused. "It wasn't random. I needed something that could conduct electricity but also hold things together. So I mixed different things until I found something that worked." "But how did you know it would work?" Dr. Kelnara asked. "I didn't. I tried it and it worked. If it didn't work, I would have tried something else." Dr. Kelnara sat back and thought about this. In Coalition science, you planned everything carefully before you built it. You ran computer simulations and tested every part. You never just mixed things together to see what happened. "Jake," she said slowly, "how do humans usually build things?" "Well, it depends on what you're building," Jake said, coming out from under the panel. "If it's something important like a house or a big ship, you plan it out. But for stuff like this, you just start building and fix problems as you find them." "That sounds very dangerous." "Sometimes it is," Jake agreed. "But you learn a lot more when things go wrong. My grandfather always said you can't discover new ways if you're afraid to break old things." Dr. Kelnara was writing down everything Jake said. This was the most important discovery of her career. "How many humans are out here in space?" "Oh, thousands by now," Jake said. "Maybe tens of thousands. We've been spreading out from Earth for about 50 years. Every family builds their own ship and goes wherever they want." "Every family builds their own ship?" Dr. Pexham almost dropped his note-taking device. "Sure. It's not that hard once you learn the basics. My dad taught me, his dad taught him. We've been building things for generations." Dr. Kelnara felt her mind spinning. In the Coalition, only trained engineers could build spacecraft. It took years of education and testing before someone was allowed to work on important technology. "Jake, I need to ask you something important," she said. "Are all human ships like yours?" "Like mine, how?" "Built from different parts and modified while flying?" Jake laughed. "Oh, no. Mine's pretty normal, actually. You should see my cousin Terry's ship. He's got engines that run on 3 different fuel types, and he can change the shape of his hull while he's flying. Now that's impressive." "Change the shape of the hull?" Dr. Kelnara could barely speak. "Yeah, for different types of space travel. Big and slow for carrying cargo, small and fast for racing." Pretty smart, right? Dr. Kelnara looked at Dr. Pexham. They were both thinking the same thing. The Coalition had been building the same types of ships for thousands of years. Each design was perfect for one specific job, but could never be changed. "Can you show me how to contact other human ships?" Dr. Kelnara asked. "Sure thing, Doc." Jake led them to his communication system. Like everything else on his ship, it looked like it was built from spare parts. But when he turned it on, voices filled the air from dozens of different sources. "This is the Stellar Wanderer calling anyone in the Vex system. I've got engine trouble and could use some advice. Wanderer, this is Iron Horse. What kind of trouble? My fusion mix is running too hot. I tried adjusting the magnetic bottles, but it's getting worse. Try reducing your fuel flow by 10% and increasing your cooling cycle. That worked for me last month." "Thanks, Iron Horse. I'll give it a try." Dr. Kelnara listened in amazement. Human pilots were sharing technical information and helping each other solve problems in real time. In the coalition, if you had engine trouble, you went to a certified repair station and waited for trained technicians. They help each other? She asked. Of course, Jake said. We're all out here trying to make our ships work better. If someone finds a good trick, they share it. That's how we all learn. Another voice came through the communication system. Anyone know how to soup up a coalition drive core? I found one, but it's too slow for what I need. Hey, Jake, you there? Came another voice. Didn't you figure that out? Jake picked up the microphone. Yeah, I'm here. You need to bypass the safety limiters and add a secondary power feed, but be careful. If you push it too hard, it'll blow up. Thanks, Jake. I'll be careful. Dr. Kelnara stared at Jake. You are teaching other humans how to modify coalition technology? Sure. Why wouldn't I? Because Dr. Kelnara struggled to find words. Because that technology took us centuries to develop. It is protected by safety systems for important reasons. Well, yeah, the safety systems are there for a reason, Jake agreed. They keep the drives from working at full power. They keep them from exploding. That too, Jake said with a grin. You just have to be smart about which safety systems you really need. Over the next hour, Dr. Kelnara listened to more human communications. She heard pilots sharing modifications, warning each other about dangerous areas of space, and discussing new discoveries. It was like listening to a galaxy-wide conversation between engineers who were all working on the same project. Jake, she said finally, I think I need to understand something. How do humans view technology? Jake thought for a moment. Well, technology is just tools, right? Tools are meant to be used. And if they don't work the way you need them to, you modify them until they do. But what if you break them? Then you fix them or build new ones. That's how you learn what works and what doesn't. Dr. Kelnara realized that humans and coalition species had completely different relationships with technology. Coalition species built things to last forever and work perfectly. Humans built things to be changed, improved, and adapted. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Pexham said quietly, I have been scanning human communications from across this sector. There are thousands of ships out there, and everyone has a different design. How is that possible? She asked. Because every human pilot is also an engineer, Jake said. We don't just fly our ships, we constantly make them better. Dr. Kelnara looked around Jake's ship again. She had thought it looked chaotic and primitive. Now she realized it was something else entirely. It was a workshop, a laboratory, and a home all at the same time. Jake didn't just live in his ship. He was always working to improve it. Jake, she said, I need to ask you for a big favor. Sure, Doc. What do you need? I need you to teach us. Jake looked surprised. Teach you what? Everything. How you think about problems, how you build things, how you make technology work better. Dr. Kelnara paused. I think humans know something that we have forgotten. What's that? How to innovate. Jake smiled. Well, I'm not much of a teacher, but I'll try. When do we start? Dr. Kelnara looked at Dr. Pexham, who nodded enthusiastically. Right now, she said. 3 weeks later, Dr. Kelnara stood in the largest laboratory on the Infinite Wisdom and stared at something that should not exist. On the table in front of her was a piece of coalition technology that had been modified using human techniques. It was working better than the original design, and she had no idea how. Run the test again, she told Dr. Pexham. Her assistant activated the device. Numbers appeared on the screen showing power output, efficiency, and stability. All the numbers were higher than they should be. It is still working at 130% of normal efficiency, Dr. Pexham said with wonder in his voice. That is impossible, said Dr. Zexara, the ship's chief engineer. I designed that component myself. It cannot work better than I built it to work. Jake, who was sitting nearby eating something called a sandwich, looked up. Why not? because I calculated. The perfect balance of all the parts. Every piece is exactly the right size and strength for maximum efficiency. But what if perfect isn't actually perfect? Jake asked. Dr. Zexara's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. Perfect is perfect. That is what the word means. See, that's where. We think differently, Jake said, taking another bite of his sandwich. You built that thing to work perfectly under normal conditions. But what if the conditions change? Then you would need a different device for different conditions. Or, Jake said with a grin, you could build one device that can change itself when conditions change. Dr. Kelnara looked at the modified component again. Jake had added 3 small parts that could adjust themselves based on power needs. When more power was needed, the device automatically changed its configuration. When less power was needed, it changed back. This is adaptive technology, she said slowly. I guess, Jake said. I just call it smart engineering. Dr. Kelnara had been studying human technology for weeks now, and she was beginning to understand something incredible. Coalition science had spent thousands of years perfecting individual technologies. Each device was built to do one specific job as well as possible, but humans built devices that could do many jobs and adapt to new situations. Jake, can you explain again how humans approach engineering problems? Jake put down his sandwich and thought for a moment. Well, first you figure out what you need the thing to do. Then you build something that does it, even if it's not perfect. Then you use it and see what problems come up. Then you fix those problems and make it better. And you keep doing that until it works really well. But what if you make it worse instead of better? Then you change it back and try something else. The important thing is to keep trying new things. Dr. Zexara looked frustrated. But that takes so much time, and you might break things. Yeah, you might, Jake agreed. But you also might discover something amazing that no one thought of before. Dr. Kelnara walked over to her personal computer and pulled up a file she had been working on. It contained all her observations about human technology and thinking. Jake, I have been studying your people for weeks, and I think I understand something important about humans. What's that, Doc? You are not primitive, at all. Your technology is actually more advanced than ours in ways we never considered. Jake looked surprised. Really? But your ships are huge and powerful. You have technology we can't even understand. Yes, but all our technology does exactly what it was designed to do, nothing more. Your technology does what it was designed to do, and then it adapts to do other things too. Dr. Kelnara brought up an image on the wall screen. It showed 2 spaceships side by side. One was a coalition vessel with smooth lines and perfect symmetry. The other was a human ship that looked like a collection of random parts. Look at these 2 ships, she said. Which one is more advanced? Well, yours is bigger and probably faster, Jake said. But which one can be modified while flying? Which one can adapt to new situations? Which one can be repaired using materials you find anywhere in space? Jake grinned. Okay, I see your point. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Pexham said, are you saying that human technology is superior to coalition technology? Not superior, she replied. Different. We have been building technology to be perfect and permanent. Humans build technology to be flexible and improvable. Dr. Zexara crossed his arms. But our way is more reliable. Coalition ships work the same way for centuries without problems. That is true, Dr. Kelnara agreed. But they also cannot be improved. A coalition ship built 500 years ago works exactly the same as one built today. And that is good, is it? Dr. Kelnara asked. Jake, how long have humans been building spaceships? About 50 years, Jake said. And in those 50 years, how much have your ships improved? Jake thought about it. A lot. My grandfather's first ship could barely make it to the next star system. My ship can cross the galaxy. 50 years, Dr. Kelnara repeated. In 50 years, human spacecraft technology has advanced from basic interstellar travel to faster-than-light speeds that exceed our best military vessels. Dr. Zexara's eyes went wide. That is impossible. No, Dr. Kelnara said quietly. That is what happens when you build technology that can be improved instead of technology that is already perfect. She turned to look at her entire science team, who had gathered to listen. I believe we have made the most important discovery in coalition history, she announced. We have found a species that has discovered how to make technology evolve. Evolve? Dr. Pexham asked. Yes. Every human ship is different because every human pilot improves their ship in their own way. The good improvements get shared with other humans, so the technology gets better and better over time. Jake nodded. That's why we talk to each other so much. If someone figures out a better way to do something, we all benefit. But in the coalition, Dr. Kelnara continued, once we perfect a technology, we stop trying to improve it. We use the same designs for centuries. Because they work perfectly, Dr. Zexara insisted. But perfectly for what? Dr. Kelnara asked. Perfectly for the conditions they were designed for. But what happens when conditions change? What happens when you need to do something new? Dr. Zexara was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, you build new technology, which takes centuries of research and development, Dr. Kelnara said, while humans just modify what they already have and start using it immediately. Jake was watching this conversation with interest. You know, Doc, you're making it sound like we're geniuses or something. But really, we just don't like being told that something can't be improved. That, Dr. Kelnara said, might be the most important attitude in the universe. She turned back to her team. I want everyone to start new projects immediately. I want us to take coalition technology and try to improve it using human methods. Dr. Kelnara, Dr. Zexara said nervously. That could be dangerous. We could break things. Good, she said. If we break things, we will learn how to fix them better. Jake grinned and picked up his sandwich again. Now you're thinking like a human. Dr. Kelnara smiled back. For the first time in her career, she was excited about the possibility of failure. Because failure, she now understood, was just another word for learning. 6 months after first contact with Jake Morrison, the galaxy was in chaos. It was beautiful, exciting, terrifying chaos, but chaos all the same. Dr. Kelnara stood on the observation deck of the Coalition Capital Station and watched ships flying, in patterns she had never seen before. Some moved in perfect formation like always, but others weaved and danced through space like they were alive. These were the modified ships, coalition vessels that had been changed using human techniques. The Senate is very unhappy, said Senator Vex Morin, who had come to complain again. He was a tall, dignified member of the Altarian Council, and his people had been building the same perfect ships for over 3,000 years. I imagine they are, Dr. Kelnara replied calmly. Change is always uncomfortable at first. Comfortable? Dr. Kelnara, half the engineering schools in the galaxy are in revolt. Students are taking apart their equipment to improve it. 3 major shipyards have shut down because their workers refuse to build standard designs anymore. Dr. Kelnara tried not to smile. And how many new discoveries have been made in the last 6 months? Senator Vex Morin was quiet for a moment. That is not the point, isn't it? Senator, in the past 6 months, we have seen more technological advancement than in the previous 1,000 years. Coalition ships can now change their configurations in flight. Our communication systems can adapt to new conditions automatically. Our energy systems are 30% more efficient. But at what cost? The senator demanded. Order, stability, predictability, these things matter. Before Dr. Kelnara could answer, her communication device made a sound. Jake Morrison's voice filled the air. Hey, Doc, You there? I wanted to show you something cool. I am here, Jake. What have you discovered now? Well, you know how we've been working on that adaptive shield system? I think I figured out how to make it work with coalition power cores. Senator Vex Morin looked shocked. Who is that? And why is he speaking so casually to a senior scientist? That is Jake Morrison, Dr. Kelnera said, the human who started all of this. Jake, she said into her communicator, I am with Senator Vex Morin from the Coalition Senate. Perhaps you could explain what you have been working on. Oh, hey there, Senator. Jake's voice was cheerful and friendly. Nice to meet you. So anyway, I've been working with some of your engineers on this shield system that can change itself based on what's shooting at you. Change itself? Senator Vex Morin asked weakly. Yeah, so like, if someone shoots lasers at you, it becomes really good at stopping lasers. If they shoot missiles, it changes to be good at stopping missiles. Pretty neat, right? But how do you know it will work correctly? Well, we tested it a bunch of times. Blew up a few ships in the process, but that's how you learn what works and what doesn't. Senator Vex Morin looked like he was going to faint. You deliberately destroyed ships? Just old ones that weren't being used anymore. Don't worry. Nobody got hurt. Well, except for that one time when... Jake, Dr. Kelnera interrupted, perhaps you should show the senator your latest project instead. Oh, right. Senator, you should come see what we're building. It's going to change everything. An hour later, Dr. Kelnara and Senator Vex Morin were aboard a small shuttle heading toward the human construction zone. As they got closer, the senator stared out the window in disbelief. Humans and coalition citizens were working together on what looked like the strangest space station ever built. Parts of it looked like standard coalition architecture, clean lines and perfect geometry. But other parts looked completely chaotic, with tubes and cables running everywhere and sections that seemed to be constantly changing shape. What is that? Senator Vex Morin whispered. That, Dr. Kelnera said proudly, is the first adaptive space station. It can reconfigure itself based on what it needs to do. When they docked, Jake met them at the airlock. He was wearing work clothes covered in oil stains, and his hair was messy. Behind him stood Dr. Zexara, the coalition engineer who had been so skeptical 6 months ago. He was also covered in oil stains and looked happier than Dr. Kelnara had. Ever seen him? Senator, welcome to Project Changeling, Jake said enthusiastically. Want the grand tour? As they walked through the station, Jake and Dr. Zexara explained what they had built. The station could change its configuration depending on what it needed to do. It could become a research facility, a shipyard, a defensive fortress, or even a mobile base that could travel to different star systems. This is impossible, Senator Vex Morin kept saying. Stations cannot move. Stations are permanent structures. Well, yeah, that's what we thought too, Dr. Zexara said. But then Jake asked why they had to be permanent. Turns out there's no good reason except that's how we've always done it. They stopped at an observation window that looked out into space. Dozens of ships were flying around the station, some coalition designs and some human. But many were new, hybrid designs that combined the best of both technologies. Look at that, Jake said, pointing to a sleek ship that was approaching the station. That's the new Veltari Explorer ship. They took their traditional deep space design and added human. Adaptive systems. Now it can reconfigure itself for different types of exploration. Senator Vex Morin watched the ship as it docked. The Veltari agreed to modify their ships? Agreed? Dr. Kelnara laughed. Senator, they are leading the revolution. Dr. Belanor, their chief scientist, says this is the most exciting time in Veltari history. But what about tradition? What about the proven ways of doing things? Jake scratched his head. Well, Senator, traditions are nice and all, but they're not very useful if they stop you from making things better. Jake, Dr. Zexara added. Show? Him! The communication grid. Jake led them to a control room filled with screens showing communication traffic from across the galaxy. But instead of the orderly official channels that the coalition normally used, this looked like organized chaos. "This is the new interspecies engineering network," Jake explained. "Engineers from every coalition species are sharing ideas and improvements in real time." Senator Vex Morin looked at the screens in horror. "They are sharing classified technologies?" "Not classified," Dr. Kelnera corrected. "Just previously restricted. We have discovered that when engineers can share ideas freely, innovation happens much faster. But what about quality control? What about safety regulations?" "Oh, we still have those," Dr. Zexara said. "But now they're guidelines instead of absolute rules. If someone has an idea for improvement, they can try it out and share the results. And if it doesn't work, then they share that too," Jake said. "Learning what doesn't work is just as important as learning what does work." Senator Vex Morin sat down heavily in a chair. "This is not how the galaxy is supposed to work." "Maybe that's the problem," Dr. Kelnera said gently. "Maybe the way the galaxy was supposed to work was holding us back. 6 months ago, the Coalition had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Ships that worked perfectly for thousands of years, systems that never failed, designs that had been perfected over centuries. It was a beautiful, stable, predictable galaxy. But it was also a galaxy where nothing new ever happened. Now, every day brought new discoveries, ships that could think for themselves, stations that could move between stars, communication systems that adapted to make themselves better, energy systems that learned from experience." "Senator," Dr. Kelnara said, "I know this is frightening. Change always is. But look around you. In 6 months, we have made more progress than in the previous millennium." "But at what cost?" the senator asked again. Jake sat down next to him. "Senator, can I tell you something my grandfather used to say?" "What?" "He said that the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't failure. It's the fear of failure, because when you're afraid to fail, you stop trying new things. And when you stop trying new things, you stop growing." Senator Vex Morin looked around the room at all the activity, all the controlled chaos of people, working together to build something new. "What if it all falls apart?" he asked quietly. "Then we'll fix it and make it better," Jake said simply. "That's what we do." Dr. Kelnara smiled as she watched the senator slowly begin to understand. The galaxy would never be the same. It would be messier, more chaotic, more unpredictable. It would also be more alive than it had been in thousands of years. "Welcome to the future, Senator," she said. "It's going to be an interesting ride." Outside the window, a new type of ship was taking shape. One that had never existed before and might never exist again in exactly the same form. It was built by humans and coalition species working together, combining ancient wisdom with new ideas. It was beautiful in its imperfection, powerful in its adaptability, and revolutionary in its very existence. The galaxy had learned to change, and change, they discovered, was the most powerful force in the universe.